Sure.
One that goes like this works better. Sure, this one here, custom heavy duty, $28 you want to go. That one's $89. No? Yeah, so this thing for time. So read the whole paragraph. Good. All right. Public notice is hereby given to all residents of the city of Blue Island and parties that public hearing to consider the annual appropriation ordinance. Fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2022 and ending December 31st, 2022 will be held before the mayor and aldermen of the city of Blue Island, County of Illinois at the hour of 6 p.m. on Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. Public hearing will be held in the city of Blue Island City Council Chambers, 2434 Vermont Street, Blue Island, Illinois, 60406. Public are invited to it. Call to order at 6:02. Clerk, want to do a roll call?
Sure. Alderman Johnson. Alderman Fairwell. Here. Alderman Rita. Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee. Alderman Carr. Here. Alderman Roll.
Well, made public, posted, available at the city clerk's office. In the packet, it's also going to be passed out again by city administration. Is there any public comment on the appropriation? I'll give it a few minutes, not rushing. Discussion with the alderman. You want to wait for the meeting? It's up to you.
I'll wait till the meeting, I guess.
No, we will really close it. The past year do this.
So, we're not in a rush.
Yeah, you will.
I mean, we'll get it.
As well, yeah.
Oh, sure. Scratch that OCD card, so.
No problem.
6:10.
That's good. Well, I don't find out, I'm not sure if I can make it.
March 22nd at 7 p.m. at the City Council Chambers located at 2434 Vermont Street, Illinois, 60406. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Jackson.
Present.
Alderman Fairwell.
Here.
Alderman Rita. Alderman Montoya.
Here.
Alderman McKee.
Present.
Alderman Carr.
Here.
Alderman Roll.
Here.
All right, in the moment of some savings of time, a lot of people are here to speak and also be sworn in. So I'm going to do the swearing in first, and then we'll do the appropriation. Then we'll do a small recess. Sound good? Okay, so tonight we're swearing in two police officers. Chief, which ones should we bring up first?
Mauricio? Okay. Man, we got donuts in the back today. All right.
Mauricio Antonopoulos. So raise your right hand. I, Mauricio Antonopoulos,
I, Mauricio Antonopoulos,
having been appointed to the office of patrol officer
having been appointed to the office of patrol officer
in the city of Blue Island,
in the city of Blue Island,
county of Cook,
county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution for the state of Illinois,
the Constitution for the state of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of patrol officer
of the office of patrol officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I think I might have already done that.
All right. We are Devontae Spivey.
Raise your right hand. I, Devontae Spivey,
I, Devontae Spivey,
having been appointed to the office of
having been appointed to the office of
patrol officer
patrol officer
in the city of Blue Island,
in the city of Blue Island,
county of Cook,
county of Cook,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution for the state of Illinois,
the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of
patrol officer
patrol officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Still coming. Gotta make them jump. It's a ritual. Mayor, is it possible I can mention something? To all the new police officers that's coming in and getting sworn in, the mayor personally is paying the down payment for a home in the city of Blue Island. Actually, we do have a grant for that for you guys. We made amends for that. If you do move to the city of Blue Island, that your down payment is paid.
All right. Yes. 3 payments over 3 years toward the house.
Yeah.
If you move.
Can't say.
Can't say.
Yeah. See, it's a
It's a little
ritual.
entertaining too.
Get Velcro and just let them stick it up, just, you know.
All right. Pretty short recess. You guys don't want to stick around for all this, so you gotta go get something to eat. Do a couple minutes, get with your families, don't stick around.
Then the crowd thins down, you know, free donuts in the bag.
Appropriations, we have some people here that are here just for that. Actually, most of you are here just for that. So that's the letter I on the agenda. We have a healthy agenda tonight. Probably one of the most healthiest ones we've seen.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
do you want to allow public comment?
Yeah, sorry. Public comment. Public comment? City Council? Yes.
Any topic?
Yes.
I just, okay. Good evening, my name is Darlene Washington. I live at 2917 140th Street. And I'm here to first commend you on your new role. I'm happy to see you. A friend of mine knows you, she speaks very highly of you, so you must be a wonderful person. But I'm questioning or asking if we are adequately staffed in our public works department. Are we experiencing some kind of shortage?
Yes.
We are, okay. Which leads me to my next thing. I have for 3 weeks in a row been trying to get something from my home picked up. And I first thought, well, maybe they did not see it. I called and asked about it, and I was sure that they would pick it up the next week. Well, the next week was yesterday, and the item was not picked up. So I thought, okay, let me introduce myself, and also, that's my personal experience, but also mainly I've been concerned about a pile of branches that have been on 139th Street for a long time. And as we are welcoming new people in our neighborhood, we've had a new house or two built. You know, I like them to feel like it's a wonderful place to be. And it's just, if you can't have what you see on time, if you drive down the streets, and it's just some things that should be addressed. So I'm hoping that tonight's visit will kind of encourage the streets and sanitation people to kind of feel a little more aggressive about picking up, maybe driving down each street, kind of look, sometimes you can't see things from the main street. You can't just look down the street and see whether there's something lying down and you picked up or not. So that's my concern, because I did tell, I think her name is Juliana, that I would come and probably talk.
And
So this is not a complaint, this is a concern.
no, and I want to make sure we address your concern. Our Jim from Superintendent of Public Works is here.
Here's Jim.
And you can touch base with him before you leave tonight.
Well, I know he must work a lot, because he never answers the phone down when I call. I never spoke to him, so they're making him work too hard. But somebody else probably needs to work a little less so he can talk a little bit more.
Thank you, thank you. Any other public comment?
Good evening, Your Honor, City Council members. Before I say something, I'd like to, I wasn't here when Jamie Schultz was sworn in. I knew Jamie was 9 years old. He was my baseball team, Franklin Life, my all-star team. And he had great parents, Sharon and Kenny Schultz. And a side note, a while back, he gave me a citation for jaywalking. No, I'm kidding, James is a good guy, good guy. Yeah, I just, a couple, like I said, my name is Thomas Madrigal, I live at 134 27th Street. And just like this lady says, I got some concern, not complaints, concerns, I'm kind of the neighborhood watch commander. I walk around the neighborhood and speak fairly fluent Spanish. And one of the issues, three issues. At the end of the block, 135th Street, from San Francisco all the way going east of Vine, there's trash all around that one fence where that business was. Trash, it looks like a garbage dump. I know some of the people I talked to, it told us, well, it's time to ask the city to check up on it, what's going on here, you know, it's an eyesore. So that's one complaint. Another complaint, I got some neighbors across the alley, they live at 134-32 California and 134-26 California. When the weather gets good, they play loud music from about 1, 2 o'clock to midnight. If you know, policeman looks, you know, I call them a lot. Okay, that should be so, because there's around me, there's about 3 or 4 senior citizens. They're older than me. That's not right. Why should we put up with that music? You know, because I don't want to confront them. I don't want to do that. Because I just don't. That's the job of the police or whoever, so forth. Yeah, we got a good town. We can't allow that. Believe me, we can't allow that. And the third concern is a friend of mine, he's a deacon at the Church of Robbins. I guess a couple weeks ago, he's coming down 135th and 131st Street. Right? He got to San Francisco. He's trying to turn left going to Vermont Street. And what happened, he got both T-boats. The guy just, they come flying down that street, especially if you can't see him coming westbound on Vermont, you know, and I see that a lot. That's why when I go out there, but these guys just flying like a bat out of hell. I wonder if they could, you know, put like a sign, caution, caution. There's people, they think it's a speedway more or less, a racetrack. But that's my 3 concerns, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, and again, you already talked to Jamie on the way out, I'm sure he wrote down the addresses, right? Thank you. Any other public comments? Any other public comments?
Hello, my name is Joyce Brown. I'm a Raleigh resident homeowner for 32 years at 2221 West 121st Place, where there was a murder, my son. And I just want to say, I have tried over and over and over to try to get to the mayor, which is you. Never could get you. I even had a teacher at the Blue Island School to call. She said you never called her back. And I just feel today that I'm thrown away. My son lived there where he died. He was a decent kid. Never been in Blue Island jail. Graduated from Eisenhower, went to the schools out here all his life. I raised all of my children here. This son here was only 3 years old when I moved there. Never been in no trouble with Blue Island. And for some reason, I feel threw away. I have reached out. No one's hearing me. And I try to come to you all before I can go farther. But it's like nothing is happening. And I grieve every day. I'm not even myself today. I don't even look like myself today. I am a mother that birthed 6 children by one man, still married to him. That's my family on the wall. My son is gone. And I can't get no support from my wife. And then they say Blue Island is not a threat, but it's a threat to me. Because every day I'm 67. I couldn't work for 3 months. But I'm working now. And every day I walk out that door, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. The white car, that's all the police told me, a white sedan. If I see a white car, I'm nervous, I'm trembling. My heart is failing. And even where I work, and I work in a decent area, but I'm still looking, and I feel nervous. I'm seeing a doctor because in the back of my mind, I'm wondering why, what happened, why my son, what happened? No answers. No one called back, no one telling us nothing. I just don't understand it. I need help. Not only just help from you all, I'm getting help from going to talking to people. That was my baby, and he was somebody. I need someone to talk to me. I need someone to tell me what you're gonna do. Can I get some help? I can't even hardly walk out my door. I understand it's not a threat to Blue Island. No, it's not. But guess what? I live right across the alley for the people they were looking for. I'm sorry to say this, but I mean it. I have to say it. And now the shooting is still going. And when they shoot, I'm telling my husband, get down, get down, get down. And then I'm scared to go out the door for days. I gotta call off for work. That's not good. Mistaken identity, my son is dead. I need something done. Christmas shooting, just a few days. I called the police myself. They're shooting. They had me on the phone. I said, ma'am, just come to 122nd and in the Longwood, whatever the street out there on, Urban. She said, okay, finally said, okay. I'm 67 years old. I choose to work until 70 if I can. But how can I work? And I'm nervous, I'm trembling. My children are worried about me. I need some help from you, Mayor. I need you to tell your officers to do something. I'm not saying they can catch the people that did it, but I don't need to get a phone call saying nothing. I need a phone call. I need someone to say we're being concerned. We're doing this, we're doing that. I need some concerns. My son should have died like that. God took him because it was his time. But did he live by the gun? No. He should not have died like that because of the streets. And I know it's evil out here right now, and people are killing people everywhere. And I know my son probably was though, but he didn't set out for someone to kill him. He didn't live like that. Bought his car September the 6th, September the 12th, he was dead. Buried him September the 18th. My son is gone, left 3 children. My heart hurts, it aches. Please help us. Help my children, help me, help my husband. Help us to get through this.
Can I get your number from Tom, sit right behind you, your city administrator?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
708. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Now moving on to.
Wait, Mayor, I was gonna say, if someone puts a receptacle right down Francisco, I promise you I will see it. There's, you know, and when you drive into the South Drive area, I don't know if we have, public hands that's throughout the neighborhood or not, but there's a lot of stuff there. I bought this little thing where you can just squeeze it out and pick stuff up. I don't know if that's possible, but I'm just asking.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to letter I, the appropriations. We need a motion, a second, then we're having a discussion. I'm sure there's going to be discussion. Motion, Alderman Fairwell, second by Alderman Roll on the question.
No, I? Actually, I'd like to pass out something to suggestion tonight. So I just like to read something for us and something to consider. What I'm going to read is first, I sent this to the mayor, Mr. Wogan and Mr. Miller. And first off, I want to acknowledge that they've all worked very hard and putting this together. And I really appreciate the effort that everyone has made Alderman Roll 2. So, my comments are suggestions to be helpful, not to suggest that anything is wrong. But I do have a thought here that I'd like to at least have considered. So this is the note I sent attached to the document that you're looking at right now. The attached document contains some significant proposed changes to the 2022 appropriation. Essentially, it postpones some of the activity envisioned in the 22 appropriation to 2023. I'm proposing these changes because I believe the appropriations construction, as constructed, has the potential to pull the city in too many different and challenging directions at one time. The city still needs to find, hire, equipment, train significant new staff, or do other things, and it will take time to absorb all this and get moving in the same direction. As I said before, I share your goal of moving the city forward as quickly as possible, and I look forward to making this happen. And I wish to read through this document, it's not too long. These proposed changes would reduce the difference between the current version of the appropriation and 2021's actual spend from $19.3 million to about $12.6 million. To put that in plain English, the current appropriation, which does not commit us to spend the money, but it permits us to spend the money, is $19.3 million more than we spent in 2021. So it's a significant amount of money. So I'm proposing reducing that difference to $12 million, an increase to $12 million, which is still a mammoth increase for a city with average annual expenditures of about $30 million. This appropriation would give the city plenty of latitude in its spending for improvements in 2022. The intent is to focus city staff on the highest priority projects and initiatives rather than spreading their resources so thin as to risk serious shortfalls in outcomes and significant errors. I plan to propose these broad changes tomorrow night to tonight's city council meeting with a request that staff create a new appropriation with specific changes that accomplish this request. We would, of course, need to schedule a special meeting prior to March 31 to approve the final appropriation. And these are the basic areas that I'm suggesting. A, add a new item, actually. City of Blue Island website redevelopment, $100,000. Though likely not enough to complete this project, it would allow us to get a good start for completion in 2023 and do need an improved website. B, postpone the envisioned water meter replacement program until 2023. Approximate savings should exceed the proposed water meter program cost of $1.6 million since related staff increases could also be postponed. C, cap street and infrastructure improvements at a realistic pace of $5 million for the year by including the streetscape and CDBG programs, the streetscape being the old western and the CDBG being a street that we're going to do. Appropriations for streets other than those programs would be about $2.5 million. I list out the various sources of funding that we're looking to use, and the approximate savings to the appropriation would then be a reduction of appropriation of about $5.8 million. And D, the appropriation provides approximately $2 million in annual salary increases, yet the first quarter of the year has already passed without most of the envisioned hiring and without most of the planned salary increases. The appropriation should be changed to reflect 1, 9 months of planned salary increases rather than 12, and 2, 6 months of new hire salaries rather than 12. On average, we are unlikely to fill the anticipated new positions until the second half of the year with an approximate savings total of about $500,000. Again, I'm not suggesting that any of the things that are in the appropriation don't need to be done, they all do. I just am very concerned that we're basically biting off more than we can chew, and I'd like to see us focus this down a little better. So we focus on the things that, in my opinion, are most important. Others may disagree with that, and certainly everyone's entitled to their thoughts in that regard. But this is my thought at a way that we could, I think, make the appropriation more in line with reasonable expectations. So obviously, this is.
I got ready.
Please go ahead.
The responses. Yeah. I'll do the easy ones first. The salaries. The contracts ended December 31st. When we sell a contract, we have to go back and make those changes for salaries anyway. That takes off 90% of the salaried staff because they're all under 3 department units. Unless you're talking about the less than 29 union employees. Police, fire, public works, we have to retro those back to December anyway. So that's off the table because otherwise we'd be in trouble and they wouldn't get any raise in their contracts. Which I'm not saying we're not, that's all confidential union negotiations. We are negotiating. That being said, the capital improvement money, cash on hand of $12 to $14 million restricted funds that have been rolled over because of COVID and logistically wasn't done in the last couple of years. There are several legal issues why we can't not spend it. We ran into this, I'll jog a memory without giving specifics, in the California gardens where certain taxing bodies can then ask for money back. We were rushing to do streets, so the streets got done, so we wouldn't have to repay it back. There's a lot of issues not spending, appropriating. Even I'm saying we're not taking all of it, like we mentioned the other day. We're leaving a good cushion, not including revenues coming in this year. Also, you don't appropriate it for it, you can't spend it. So if we do get any grant money, like state funds, and my administrator will pass out some stuff, they already haven't done so, we can't touch it then for another fiscal year. That being said, even in a perfect scenario, we can do the whole 5-6 million in the capital projects with the streets and alleys and then infrastructure. We're going out to bid all at once, saves on the engineering and bidding process and everything like that, which we can always peel off the street here and there if we can't afford doing it all at our leisure. Travis is going to talk about that. But logistically, we're going to try to do a lot this summer, so most likely some of it probably will roll over the following year. Travis will mention some of that also. Streetscaping shouldn't become any infrastructure because it's not touching the street at all. And I'd like to keep the streets in the streets and streetscaping, not intermingle the funds, especially when streetscaping and TIP 5 will be intermingled because they have the same exact blueprint. That's overreaching responses to the concerns. I think if you look at the cash on hand and what we're rolling over, it is being very conservative. We could put the whole 19 million over. We kept it way below that, not 50% below, but pretty close. And that's not including revenues coming in this year.
But just to clarify, we are planning to appropriate the 19 million.
I'm talking about the fixed accounts you mentioned.
Yeah.
These can only be spent. We're not talking general and water. We're talking about restricted funds between TIP and MFT and the CBG, which is a grant that we don't know we have, but whether we will. So like the 450 in a small microeconomic looking way at it, if we don't spend the 450, you might as well tell Travis to pull the application. Yeah, we can't spend it. So it's got to stay 450. We get 5, 10, 15 million from the state. We can't appropriate any of that money anywhere. We can't spend it. And more long-term danger situation, we're not appropriating saying we need it. Why would they give it to us? Right. So I have multiple issues. I don't disagree with the website, as you know. I don't disagree with the water possibly being a bigger project than we can do, but I think touching the streetscaping and the streets, I think we're being very conservative as is. I wanted to bring Travis up there anyway, and I think it'd be a good time to bring you up. That's their job, is to manage the project for us. It's all under one umbrella. All of this, the street plan and the streetscaping. If we do a water thing, which we don't know if we get the grant money or not, but if it's not in here, we can't do it. We can't even apply for it. So I'll let Travis talk about it. But I hope that eases some of the concerns because I know I brought it up to Travis, your concerns. So I did read your email and sent over. You have some of the response.
Right.
Yeah, so just a couple things from Travis Gray, Christopher Burke, engineer, and city engineer. Thanks for having me. So the couple things there to talk about first is the reimbursement. Almost all the grants that we applied for are reimbursement based. So that means we have to put out the funds and then it would come back to the city. So that's to be appropriate for us to be able to spend it in the first place. So that's one of the primary reasons for that. The second thing that I wanted to mention before I forget was the for Old Western for the streetscape. One of the primary concerns there is IDOT and the permitting required with that and the time frame for that. So if we were to hold off on bidding that project, we would lose some very valuable time. So the sooner that we know that that's appropriate, that is going to happen, the better for with IDOT. So for the overall road program, we've been working with administration to use the funds, the TIF funds and MFT that are already dedicated to try to hit the worst streets first. The map, as you guys have probably seen, those are all the red streets. And there are a lot of red streets in town. So initially we're looking at about 18 to 20 streets, which roughly comes out to about $4 million and about 4 miles of roadway. Obviously we're going to stretch as far as we can, but it's that's what we're looking at. We've also applied for, as the mayor mentioned, the CDB, the DCEO, STP, and Invest in Cook. So all of those funds, range $5 to $10 million depending on what we're looking at. And again, those will all be reimbursement funds. So, and those don't include other forthcoming grants, which would be the ITEP, the Illinois Transportation Transfer Program, and then RAISE, the Rebuild Infrastructure and Sustainability Plan.
And not to cut you off, Travis.
Yeah.
Taking if in perfect scenario, which I'm very conservative when it comes to this, if we got them all, we would have to reject some because right now we're not appropriating them. Just putting that out there. We are shooting everything we can because we need the infrastructure in the city. I think we're being very conservative because I don't want to budget this twice the size of revenues, but at the same time, we have to appropriate that we get lucky on those. So I don't want to.
No, it's a good thing that because a lot of them require If they don't specifically require funds, they require you to either a commitment that you will match them or you will provide them in the future, so that they know they're not wasting their money by giving you the grant, not giving it to someone else.
If you have some of the money, it'll be coming back anyway.
From grants,
Right.
yeah, yes, so we
We just
eventually,
got it funded.
yeah, exactly. Eventually we would get it all back. Absolutely. So for this year's award program, so right now we're in the stage where we're out doing the field evaluations, so basically trying to determine how poor condition the streets are in, so those are developing quantities for the amounts of asphalt, the basic conditions, the inlets and those types of things that need to be evaluated. So there's really no concern. The primary concern right now is cost of things. Things are going kind of crazy throughout the world right now. So we expect to see higher than costs than we did last year, but we're estimating that $45 million range for all the road to be a program right now. And definitely the said, I mean, we prefer to be aggressive so that we have everything on the books, and if we need to dial back a little bit, absolutely we can do that. So.
Anything coming, any kind of spending has to come before the council, and if we don't have the money to spend it, we're not going to spend it. That's a question when we come to the council for every little thing we do. So there's always the safe measures doing that. I can't just go say, go ahead and spend $5 million.
I understand, and I appreciate your thoughts. A couple of things just to kind of clarify. Out of the, so just to set the stage again, so we're talking about an appropriation that's $19 million above what we spent last year, and we spent only $30 million. So kind of from a, I don't know, almost common sense standpoint, I look at that and I think there's a lot of management that has to go on. Obviously, we look to you to do a lot of it. The city has to manage. I know that, you know, every road project we ever do, it seems that there's some issue and the city has to get involved, public works has to get involved, whatever, to, you know, make sure that things are done properly, maybe remediate something, whatever. So now we're talking about a program that's, you know, several times bigger than we've done before. We are needing to staff up to properly do this. You know, we're in March, and I'm not casting any aspersions about this. I just think it's a fact that it's going to take us a while to acquire new staff. It's going to be hard because we all know it's hard to hire people, especially good qualified people, train them, get them on board. I'm concerned that we don't have the management capabilities to just oversee everything that we're looking at possibly doing. Again, my feeling is a $12 million increase over our last year's spending and the appropriation, to me seems like, wow, that seems like kind of a large number to begin with. $19 million seems like a really big number. And I am very concerned that, and from, you know, kind of my experience, you know, you and I both moved off to government in different ways for a long time. I've been in the planning commission. I started, you know, almost 20 years ago. I've been in all of them for 4 years. And I have numerous times seen where the best intentions can sometimes result in the worst of outcomes because, you know, it's just important that we have our kind of our everything, you know, lined up properly before we, you know, jump off a cliff. And again, I am 100% in favor of virtually everything that's being proposed. This is not, you know, my feeling is that this year a $12 million increase ought to cover everything that we need to do. And I don't think we lose any grant funding or anything as a result of that. And give us a chance to grow, learn, give our staff a chance to learn. And then if that all goes good, well then, you know, hey, we can be more aggressive next year. I am uncomfortable with moving this fast, this quickly.
And again, all my understanding, not that we did go one summer where I wanted to learn what we have and what we can do. So we waited all summer. I didn't propose spending any of this money this past summer. I made that very clear. So we're going to be 1 year in, more than that, almost 2 years in before this work even gets started. And our history, I don't want to be doing streets in November and December too. That's also, so I don't want to slow this down. But this is cash on hand that was supposed to be spent for roads that was not. It's not money that's just being used in other accounts. It's meant to be used on roads, and it's just like anything. It's better to put it in for the use that it is than I was sitting in a bank where we're not collecting the interest on it.
That's a question. But it's also better to do what you're capable of doing rather than exceeding your capabilities and winding us.
And we had issues, and one of the reasons about delve into where we did 10 months ago, we had issues, is one of the reasons why I switched firms. Are you capable of handling this job that we talked about?
Yeah, absolutely. We do this regularly.
That's your job, is to run it for the city.
Absolutely. We do this.
Without any city oversight or involvement whatsoever? No, right? I mean, you need the city to be involved in it as a partner, right? we are.
Oh, sure, that's, I mean, that's fine. That's
No,
fine.
and I
There's
understand.
no-
And so we need to have the staff resources to make sure that we can keep communicating with you, keep things moving along, keep doing whatever auditing we need to do, whatever,
Mhm.
right? I mean, that is a fact, and I'm not convinced we have the capability of doing it, frankly. And I'm not disparaging the staff in any way. I don't mean it like that. I just don't think we've gotten there yet, frankly.
I just don't want to hold our hands for the opportunity that we can. Plus, the money's on hand. It's not we're appropriating for dreams here. It's in on hand. We could have put the whole 19. You mentioned 19 million, 19 million cash on hand. I want to spend 19 million, but that's rolling over from the previous year. More like 14 million over from the previous year. So it's real money. It's not like we're inflating the budget. The average in the South Suburbs area is 20 to 30% above revenues for appropriation. We're not close to that at all. So I don't agree with everything you said. I agree with some of the line items we talked to. I'm fine with adjusting for the website. I think the website's already built in the back this year. I think it might be a little high based on stuff that came in. The water plan is something that's not the highest priority. Streets and alleys first, like what we all talked about. Both sides campaign done. The street knows that. But I don't want to tie our hands. So I agree to disagree on some of what you said.
Right, well, obviously, I'm not the decision maker.
No,
I'm
we're
just
having a
following. And this is my thought, and I guess I would ask you then, what do you think we can do to make this still fulfill your vision, but perhaps not be quite as aggressive?
I was trying not to be aggressive to begin with, so any changing outside of reallocating the website, which I agree is something I think we need, talked about doing, and maybe lowering the water, because we want streets and alleys first, and as our superintendent of works has stressed me multiple times, once you start a project like that, you can finish right away. So I would budge on those two issues, but without the street surfacing project, I don't think we're being aggressive enough. I really don't.
Well, and I think we've talked internally, I think being aggressive is probably the better way to be, because we can always back it off. If we don't have anything budgeted or don't have a plan in place for it, then we can't get it.
I know, my city administrator has wanted to talk to about it too, but Travis should probably still be answering questions.
Yeah, that's right.
Tom Wood, City Administrator, just sort of try to kind of clarify, hopefully maybe some concerns. And all of it, I very much appreciate your feedback, very much so. I think just a couple of things, just to retrace steps a little bit here and what we're spending, what we're giving us the authority to spend, and then how we actually go about spending funds in administration. So what we're talking about here obviously is an appropriation document, not a budget document, right? So it's the legal authority to spend. And the people basically numbers as well. So in terms of what we're actually going to do, actually, I think the water meter read is just a good example, just so we can use one example of philosophically what we're doing here. So we plugged out of cash in hand 1.6 million into equipment in the water department, which is there for the potential of overriding our very antiquated water meter system, which we've talked about when saying public works a great deal and make them much more efficient in terms of doing actual public works work. I would save the city a lot of money, and just the efficiencies alone would be massive savings. That said, it is not our absolute first priority. Okay? So the 1.6 million that's in there does exist for us to spend should we be able to get a plan to materialize, which would probably involve either matching or reimbursed outside funds. So we can put it in there and have it in the appropriation document. If the plan doesn't materialize, then we're not going to do it, right? So the money isn't actually going in until this council decides that it is. And I think that's an important part of this. Approving this appropriation document tonight, right, when that happens, doesn't allow the administration, the mayor, or anyone else to go out and start wheeling and dealing and spending money, right? These are going to be big projects. The streets are going to be big, right, to the lowest bidder. The water equipment, should it materialize, we would have a plan with, like I said, either state or outside grant money attached to it, and you would have to approve it again. So none of this train moves until this council says that it moves. So on all of these big ticket items, and small ticket items too, for 20,000, I think.
I mean, we brought a lot of stuff we don't have.
Right, we've been trying to be very transparent, and obviously we continue.
2,000 was sending the council.
So I say that just to say, I'm very confident based on our experiences so far with Burke, based on hopefully later in this meeting, we're going to be finalizing bringing Kasperican, which I think will help our processes. And with myself and deputy administrator and the staff we do have, yes, we do need to staff up. But from an administrative standpoint, in terms of that level of overseeing projects, those are gonna be where we have our red lights and green lights, right? Can we do this? And the can is not only money, but bandwidth, time, people, et cetera. One of the things we're very eager to do coming out of this is try to get some of these projects scheduled, because as we all know, materials and manpower is extremely difficult to come by right now. So those are gonna be decisions that are going to decide can we. So I say that to say the appropriation document itself, to give us the authority to say theoretically spend $1.6 million on water meter overhaul, is only gonna happen if those ducks line up. And if we have the money and bandwidth to do that, and that will be a decision that's made in this room, not by me, not by the mayor, by the council as a whole. So you're not ceding any authority in terms of what happens with this money once this document is approved. Okay, this council is still going to have the final say on what we move, where, and if we're, believe me, if we're in a situation where administratively our bandwidth is exceeding and we're not able to do things, then we're not going to do that. We just, common sense would prevail.
You're going to cry at the staff meeting on Monday, and I'll tell you guys on Wednesday's community. So,
The other thing I just want to touch on real quick, just because we have a lot of numbers flying around here, and so I just want to kind of retrace steps a little bit on how we get to where we're at. So we started with approximately 37 million in estimated revenues. We built, with Alderman Roll's help, a great deal of help, the preliminary budget spending plan of that we presented to this council, very cool charts and everything, at 34 million. Okay, so that's where we're at. That point, we did what the city used to do, and what most municipalities do, but the city wanted to stop doing for a while. We looked at our dedicated accounts and said, okay, we have roughly 19 million in cash on hand, and then not wanting to just throw all of that into the mix, but wanting to be in a situation where we can get aggressive if should the opportunities arise, state grants, et cetera. And I'm going to get into why that's important in a second. And so that's what, and this was included in the last round of this, and I did include another copy tonight. That's where we layered this 13.2 million into the budget. Okay, so I do understand apples to apples comparison, 21 to 22 is just it looks like a $19 million increase in the approval to spend, but all of that is based on estimated revenues, which we've always built appropriations on, and the December 31st, 2021 treasurer's report, which shows us our cash on hand. So we're not putting out wishful thinking revenues. I mean, I work for the state of Illinois. I've seen some wishful thinking revenues before. So we're not putting out, I don't think the water department's going to make, $2 million more this year. Why? That is really hopeful. No, all of this is backed by hard numbers. All of it will only move if this council approves it. But I did, like I said, the reason I point out the water meter thing specifically as an example is that this document, which is new to you, because we just got it today, this is our capital projects request list that us to implement through South Suburban Mayors Managers. So this is state capital money that we're hoping to get. We have included in there, obviously it's a wish list, we're not gonna get all of it, but we have included in there $3 million for the water repair from the state, right? Now, those are DCEO grants. I apply for DCEO grants, they don't give you a dime for everything spent. All right, you gotta go through a lot of hoops, but if we have the money to start the project and we know that there's gonna be state money available and DCO says your project is approved, go ahead and get it going, and we don't have the legal authority to spend it, then we're shortchanging ourselves, I think. But again, I just really want to reiterate, that is a decision that A, would require matching funds or reimbursable funds to be made apparent to us to come back to the council, say, with a vendor and company by side, saying, here's who's actually going to do it, here's the plan, here's what it costs. There's a lot of steps between here. So just from a trust factor, this is the first time this council is doing this, and this is new administration, new members, I understand all that. From a trust factor, this council has a great deal of checks and balances on this, on every dime.
Much more than that.
Okay, thank you. That's a very well thought out response, and I appreciate it. Can I just ask you a question or two? Hey, I think you get my concern, right? You understand? I think it's a reasonable concern. I hope you would agree with that, and I appreciate the response. You give me a good response. A way that would help us, I think, going forward would be we have the appropriation, which, as we all know, is just an authority. It's not a budget. Would be to have a budget. Can we have a budget?
Agreed. I believe we should. I believe that the initial work that Alderman Roll did on the 37 revenue in, 34 out, that number, I think that, to me, and this is just, I'm only talking, lays out a pretty good model of budget.
All right,
Needs some adjustment, and what Alderman Rowe and I have had a lot of extensive conversations are, not only do we want to, I don't want to get too overprocessed here, but not only do I agree with you that we need a budget in place, I think it should be publicly available, and what we'd like to do is put some good technological bells and whistles behind it to create dashboards that you, me, anyone in the public could look and say, how much do we spend on X this year? How much do we spend on Y so far this year? And have that as, I would like us to be a model of
all right,
transparency.
so I'm gonna put you on the spot, when?
So far, we've just discussed interest in getting it done in the next year, at least talking about the framework that we need to put into place to make that happen.
And I'll go a step further than that, to where it's flashy and cool looking.
No, I don't care about that, I just mean the budget we can.
In terms of
just
taking,
talk about here.
yes, in terms of taking the initial numbers we did and say, okay, we need real-time tracking of what we're spending, I mean, that does exist. Lauren's here from Casper, she helps us a lot in translating Smart Fusion to English. It's all there, it's all available. Now the question is gonna be, how do we want to format it in a way that's easily digestible for everybody, right? And where we're making sure that we're addressing your concerns.
Right, because as we move down this path, if we all agree to this, I would like to know that as we move down, we can, have a continuous check. Like, hey, are we staying within the bounds?
It's all the more important this year, Alderman, because as you've raised a very valid concern that Alderman Rome, the mayor and I have had multiple conversations about. This particular appropriation is unique because we do have a lot of one-time stuff in here. And we don't want one-time funding, paying for salaries and paying our monthly AP.
That's very strong from the top down.
That's a concern.
It's a concern. It's a belief. I don't want to be
Concern
sitting
across the
here
board.
as city administrator giving a bunch of people bad news because we mismanaged the budget. I'll fall on sort of leave before I let that happen. But so we need to know what we're spending on salaries, what we're spending on insurance, because those are the first priorities. We got to pay the checks, pay the bills, right? And then have a better understanding of what we have. That's mostly going to come important, especially in the second and third quarter of the year, when we're saying, okay, are we worried about anything in terms of account? Is anything much exceedingly cost being volatile as they are? Is something's, is gas exceeding costs so much that it's costing our budgets? Do we need to move money around, right? Do we need to? So, like I said, it is our goal, and I think the only way that this is going to work with this council and this administration is if we are all cards on table, transparent through the entire process, and that there is no, because unanswered questions, unanswered questions can sometimes blossom out into all of the ignorance, right? But what we want to do is say, and so absolutely agree with you. We are 100% committed to working with you and the council on how we format that, but absolutely believe that tracking week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter is going to be imperative for us. Because what I'd like ideally is that we're all here next year with a much better understanding of each other what we're doing with this.
Okay, I think you know me. I think you know I'll hold you to it. All right.
I believe it.
And then also, Alderman, Fairwell, this is something I've been asking for 13 years ago. 13 years ago, I've been asking for a budget or something that looks like it even going that way. And since Alderman Rowe and the current administration has been working with it, this is the closest I ever seen it. And I know it's going to take time for us to move from, that old agenda or that old appropriations to a budget. But this is the first time I actually seen it move. And that's why I always stood for asking for a forensic audit, things of this nature. How are we in debt this bad at one time, and we didn't know how we got there. So I take my hat off to Alderman Rowe and the administration by actually grinding hard. A lot of us campaign, because my ward isn't that bad as other wards for streets, but we still need repair there. But our streets are terrible. And I visit some of our friends and things in other parts of the city, and it's like driving over the moon. You need a truck. You don't need a vehicle or a car. So for us to spend whatever it takes for us to bring these streets up to par, because there's some very beautiful homes in this city. And it's a terrible shame that our roads look like a third world country in some of those areas. So I push for that.
I would just like to add, if I may, regarding the idea of a budget. When, in years past, when we adopted the appropriations ordinance, and I'm sure all of you have received in the past a revenue expenditure report from the city. So typically, after we pass the appropriations order, we plug in all the new numbers for the appropriated amounts for that year. And that's how we track the revenues and expenditures. We can simply adopt and put in numbers regarding a budget rather than the appropriated numbers. And we can track the budget numbers versus the appropriated numbers.
Yeah.
And if, since we're not having a budget officer in municipal budget law, we can have what's called an administrative budget, which would be plugging in those numbers in smart. That's the basic bare bones version of having a budget. We can simply plug in our budgeted numbers into Smart Fusion, and we can track revenues and expenditures throughout the year. Within, I gave Chief Haywood revenue expenditures for the fire department in less than 2 minutes.
Okay, well, that would help a lot because it's part of my concern.
And we do share that with Alderman Roll as he comes in as and upon request with those numbers. But this, in 2021, we finished unaudited with a $2 million surplus. I mean, we do watch every single AP run, every single payroll. I am watching everything in Smart Fusion and tracking our spending to make sure that I don't make the mayor look foolish and I don't make the council look foolish.
Okay.
You know, and I've every single week when you answer ask questions on APs, I do my best and I set aside a certain amount of hours of time just to answer. Sometimes less, sometimes more, but I mean, we're doing our best to be transparent with you and answer any question that any alderman has.
And I think the other thing that would be so helpful, and I know you've talked, I guess it's in the budget, is to get a finance director, because I think that's going to be critical. You guys have got a lot to do and have more to do. I think we're going to need a good finance director to do all these things that we would like to do.
Agree, and we did make that change in the appropriations to include the salary for finance.
All right, thank you.
Really quickly, Travis, you said that you're going to continue to evaluate the streets. If you could reevaluate 120th place, it's really bad.
Withdraw one street.
Yeah, just the one.
Yeah, so
it's already red, I think. Yeah, it is red, but I noticed the discrepancy, and I mentioned this before. For, I want to say Elm Street, there was a part that was small little block that was colored yellow, and we're actually going to be covering that entire street because it is red. It's a red street. So yeah, just I think that we need to be again, because I believe in the 2019 when we evaluated the streets, there wasn't dark red, so it was just red. Sure. So now that we're adding a dark red quantifier on there, hopefully we can actually pinpoint the streets that are.
Yeah, and what we're using is we're getting input from the administration, on what to do. But then we're basically visiting every street. We've actually been out every street already. So and I think the word I used for Tom was it's alarming. We go to a lot of our communities, and some of the best there, vice versa. So yes, we're definitely taking a look with our own eyes at the streets and adjusting as needed. Because sometimes obviously those numbers will change depending on how bad the street is. So
yeah, like you said, that some streets are literally patch on top of patch.
It's not.
If there's any street left, it's more like that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I got one question for you, Travis. If you're finished. Are you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay. Francisco, there's a street that's in my ward, but half of the street is actually Roberts. The other street, half the street is Blue Island. Is there anything in the makings or conversations even with them to do half that street? Because it's not even a street anymore.
Right. We have not reached out to them.
No, but if we do get 135th, which is right there, we probably have to conversation.
It ties into it, doesn't it?
Save costs when another block on Francisco. That's a conversation we have when we get to that point.
Thank you.
But it's right there. We're doing the street on 135th,
Right.
It's early.
But because, I know some of the residents on the street, Mr. Sons, Frank Sons, he actually helped put the sewer system in itself because it was flooding out his house. And because half of it is the responsibility of another city, you know, it's not even a street anymore.
Sure, absolutely. We'd love to do as many streets as possible.
I'm sure you will, and we all want the streets done, we are not gonna be satisfied for many years, because there's so much streets to be done, so that's what we want. Any other alderman comments or discussion? Not clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson,
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell,
With some concerns, aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee,
Aye.
Alderman Carr,
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
Six ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Going back, I'm sorry, now with the appropriations, administration, is there any reason we can dismiss certain people because they've already been here for an hour? Or do we have any kind of agenda that we
Travis
need?
gets to go home.
Travis gets to go home. Lauren's got to stick around a
Lauren's
little bit. All right, we'll continue on with the agenda. Travis, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We got donuts in the back.
Mayor,
Yeah.
if you want to expedite the CPA contract.
All right, we're jumping to Gaspar, then that's number D. Sorry, all right, D, so we have a resolution to the city of Blue Island, the county of Illinois, approving the execution of consulting and advisory services agreement with Untitled Corporation. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Montoya, second by Alderman Roll. On the question, clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson,
No.
Alderman Fairwell,
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee,
Aye.
Alderman Carr,
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
Five ayes, Your Honor.
Motion carries. Next, you'll see on the community of the whole, we're gonna have the administration put together, RFP for a budget, not budget, auditing firm. We need a new auditor now, for transparency purposes. So you guys will see that coming down the pipe very soon. Thank you. Lauren, thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, back to the minutes, back to A under presentation adjourning proceedings. We need a motion to approve the city council minutes from March 8th, 2022 for the regular meeting of the city council. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman McGee, second by Alderman Carr. On the question?
Okay, and so this goes to my concern, okay, about two things. One about their website, one about our capabilities. In the minutes, there is a, on page 3, under item E, there's a note that when we were talking about the Community Development Black Grant Program, I am cited, it says Alderman Fairwell requested that New Street be resurfaced utilizing these grant funds. And I remember we had the discussion, I wasn't frankly sure that I put it quite that way, so I went to look at the video, which isn't on our website, and neither, are there no videos from November on?
Is it on the YouTube channel?
I don't know, I went to our website, it ought to be there. It ought to be there.
We can link it.
Yeah,
It's on the YouTube channel. I can link it. I can.
It ought to be there, okay, so that's my comment. Thank you.
If I can, the committee, the whole meeting from, I believe, last month or the month prior, I believe it was at like 36 seconds or something like that when it got cut off from the live feed. And then I know we recorded it. We could put that online as well. Yes.
Question?
Yeah.
Roll.
Alderman Johnson,
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell,
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee,
Aye.
Alderman Carr,
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
Now we're down under number 8A, motion for approval of payroll for March 18th, 2022 for the amount of $328,172.23. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Carr, second by Alderman Roll. On the question, clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson,
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell,
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee,
Aye.
Alderman Carr,
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
All right, we have B. And if anybody paid close attention to this, this is our final payment inside B. I could go into more details. One of the reasons why it's high. So we need a motion for approval of accounts payable for the amount of $557,621.91. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Fairwell, second by Alderman McGee. On the question? Yes.
Okay, and I was so busy myself about the appropriation that I didn't have time to send you, but these are simple. I've been two questions. One is under the first item that's under Montana and Welch There's a $2,500 expense related to Sweet James Bakery, and I just don't know what that is.
We had to not deny a business license to a prospective business. They had opened up a different capacity than what they had
Okay.
said that they were going to be. So that's what that, and what was the expense for the judge for that, Aaron?
This either could have been the judge or the
Yeah.
transcripts.
So when we deny a business license, we have to have a hearing, we have to hire a third party attorney, and that's what that's for.
I don't know. Second item is Thornton's. I assume this is the thing we didn't.
Yes.
visit last time.
Yes.
And I'm just curious what's transpired.
So, I mean, we do have an agreement with Thornton's and it's due by May 1.
Okay.
So if we don't, then we are in default of our agreement.
But we did look into those concerns. We can't, so we couldn't, the agreement just straight sales tax. Right?
Sales tax and property tax, and it's a total of $1.15 million for until May 30th, May 1st of 2030, whichever one comes first. So right now, we're right about $800,000. So with the property tax payment that will be made to them, we should be done in the next year and a half, 2 years at most.
So what's the last time we cut checks before May 1?
It's gonna be, so
Whatever that is.
it's gonna be, the next
Can we
council.
wait till then? I mean, I really kind of want to stick this point to them. I'm not.
But honestly, Alderman, the quicker we get this done and over with, the quicker we get done with the agreement.
So what is that?
So there's the property tax agreement and the sales tax.
Right, because I didn't agree with it at all from the beginning, so.
So I wasn't, I'm not sure it was all, but to get them to remediate the property and demolish the building, and remove the gas tanks off the property, they asked for redevelopment agreement. Much larger scale than we just did for the ice cream, much larger scale. And it was we had to hit a dollar amount first or a year. We're gonna hit the dollar amount years before, so we're gonna be out of the agreement within a year and a half.
So originally, the agreement was for $1.5 million rebate back to them over a period of time up until May of 2030 but because they did not have permanent gold pavement installed and some other landscaping, we then reduced the agreement down from 1.5 down to 1.15.
And there's also a reduction, could have been already done without them developing the land.
So just,
That's another.
it's a minor point, but just so I understand the timing, the payments due May 1, right?
Payments.
And then the next payment's due on some certain date, right?
Correct.
So if we don't pay them until just before May 1, it's not gonna affect that future payment. I'm happy with these.
But
payments.
also, they're in court again tomorrow.
Yes.
They're in court again tomorrow. We've been nonstop in fire intersections being hit multiple times.
All right, okay, I'll give it up.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? If not, we're just
Still
going.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next we have ordinance, under C ordinance. The City of Blue Island, Cook County, Illinois, repealing ordinance number 2287. This is the one the attorney talked about that the state statute covers everything for. Need a motion and a second. Motion by Alderman Brownell, second by Alderman McGee on the question. Madam Clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Just to clarify, we're voting on E?
C.
C.
Okay, aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to E, an ordinance of the City of Blue Island, County, Illinois, granting special use permitting Blue Station Mart to operate a food store within the residential district. I think both of these are out of the planning and zoning. 121-26 consent act. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Roll, second by Alderman Farnwell on the question.
Really quickly, I'm gonna be meeting with the owner, just to, talk about the expectations of their business, with our neighborhood. And so some of the products that he sells, I believe he sells CBD as well. We need to verify, that he's licensed to sell that as well, but, as far as food goes, you know, it should be fine, but, as far as other, I don't want it to be a hangout location, so. That's it, that's my comment.
Clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Motion carries. Next we have F, an ordinance of the city of Blue Island, Cook County, Illinois, granting a special use permitting the Blue Island Fire Museum, an educational center to operate within the Uptown Transit Oriented District, UTOD, District 24, District address 2451 Vermont Street. Is there a motion? Alderman Johnson, seconded by Alderman Roll. On the question, clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Motion carries. Next we have G, bidding award 2713-2733 Orchard Street. It's the second bidder that came in for that property. Rodman Development Corp. And then this will be it, and then we have to go out to bid for the ones that didn't get bidders, and we added a few more properties, which will be coming down the pipe in the next community, probably next committee of the whole. Is there a motion? Alderman McGee, second by Alderman Johnson on the question.
Since the first, purchaser, fell through, first buyer fell through, did we verify funds? Anything or no?
For Robbins yet? Not yet. We just make sure that they're still interested.
Okay.
Any other questions? Not clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Next we have H, resolution for the city of Blue Island accepting a grant from the Illinois Housing Development Authority, Strong Communities Program. This is the money that pretty much will knock down a couple houses. We get it every year, similar grants. Is there a motion? Motion Alderman Fairwell, second by Alderman McGee on the question. Clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Motion carries. Now we're going down to J. The annual ordinance, the city of Blue Island establishing salary schedules and other compensation. That was part of the appropriation, all right?
It was in the packet. And
Oh.
it was sent out.
So motion. Alderman Roll, for second. Alderman McGee on the question. Now clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Alderman Mayor's Court, real short. Committee of the whole in April is going to be heavy. We got a lot of stuff, and hopefully we'll start slowing down towards the summer. But I mentioned a couple of the properties and some stuff. But it's all good stuff that we need to do. So just I'll keep it short tonight. We'll just spend time on it. City Courthouse announcements.
There's gonna be a copy day, May 20th and the 21st. The rain out day will be the 27th. There'll be a May Fest, is under planning for Old Western for April 30th. The Troublemakers will be having their event double play parking lot on May 14th. That'll be the first day of the farmers market will be May 14th. St. Benedict St. Walter's Good Friday event is happening on Good Friday. Hometown Heroes, please call or check in with the city clerk's office if you have any questions or anybody that would like to register. Community cleanup is working hard with gathering sponsors and volunteers at this time. If anyone's interested, please contact us. The Fireworks Fest is committee's meeting. It's July 3rd this year. We're adding a few new items. If you're interested, please contact me. Last but not least, there's a movie being filmed, Shy, I believe, is that correct, Tom? At Raven's Place, the Love in the Hospital, March 28th to 31st.
Hold up the permits.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Dress report, it's on here, but it's actually approved the last meeting. City attorney, with an ordinance for the city of Blue Island, Illinois, amending Title 9 of Chapter 92, Fair Housing for the code of the city of Blue Island. Is there a motion? Alderman McGee, is there a second? Alderman Johnson on the question.
We are amending the dates, correct?
Correct, there'll be one more amendment that changes the amount of time the building department has to return the results from the inspection. Alderman McGee spoke to Mr. Baxter about that change. I just didn't have to change any paperwork, we sent the document out.
So the 7 months.
So yeah.
Yes.
Just amended to the 7 days.
Yes, the 14 days would be in which the building department has to come out and actually inspect it is 7 business days. And then to produce the report should be done within 24 hours, within 1 business day.
Okay, as amended. Any other questions?
And then I believe I spoke to Alderman Johnson about this as well, and he came up with a good idea. A good point. If in fact, let's say there's extenuating circumstances to a homeowner, let's say they receive a purchase contract and then, they have a death in the family or something like that, and they're not able to come in and order their inspection. Is there a way that we can put some little some verbiage about under extenuating circumstances? And kind of give them a grace period.
Based on the building commissioner's recommendation.
Yeah, but they would have that approval.
And it's more policy.
Yeah, if there's circumstances.
Because I just had a couple incidents happen when I was in the real estate with that. I actually had a client die at the close. And then another person broke his foot. But if it's something that's,
Put it in there and building department discretion. All right, first please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Alderman Johnson, you're up.
yes, aye. I'm sorry.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance for the city of Blue Island, Cook County, Illinois, amending chapter 96, it's Title 9 regarding outdoor special events. Here we have the first one ready to go, the May Fest, April 30th. So we need a motion. Motion by Alderman Montoya, second by Alderman Roll on the question. Clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Motion carries. Next, we have an ordinance in the city of Blue Island, amending chapter 33, fire and police departments, emergency services, the code of Blue Island. Motion by Alderman McGee, second by Alderman Roll on the question. Clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya. Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance amending the Title 11, Chapter 111, alcoholic liquor. This fell through the cracks. We actually discussed it at committee of the whole. There's 2 parts of our liquor ordinance that does not meet state statute that should. It was brought to attention by the beer company under craft brewers. Several little changes we've made, and there's another one about family members under 21 working within a premises, but they have to pass a certain certification, right? All right. So as of right now, our code basically says if you're under 21, you can't walk in anywhere. Your family working out of hours, and it will significantly impact our family-owned businesses in town. Nobody knew that was the role. We're amending that now to match the state statute, which allows for stuff like that. Is there a motion? Motion by Alderman Roll, second by Alderman McGee. Question? Not clerk, please do the roll.
Alderman Johnson.
Aye.
Alderman Fairwell.
Aye.
Alderman Montoya.
Aye.
Alderman McGee.
Aye.
Alderman Carr.
Aye.
Alderman Roll.
Aye.
6 ayes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Attorney report.
Nothing to report.
No executive. City administrator report. Good. Alderman announcements, reports and comments.
Yes.
Alderman John.
I was wondering about that lady who, her son had passed. Did that phone call ping off of Calumet Parks 911 center?
Don't know, but it's something we can ask one of our officers. I don't think it should. That was well within our boundaries. The conversation the other day, when it's on the boundary, it can go either way. Like your situation.
Mine went south.
Yeah, it went
Deep
either way.
south.
Yeah. They are a different 911 system. They are their own. So we are with the county, and Bell Park is with Bell Park. So I haven't heard, even as alderman, many issues since we switched over. When we go, 8 years ago, we switched over. Yes, and actually it's a lot more effective. Their power goes down, they switch to another center, and all the issues that we had here, we don't worry about, it saves money to the city. But you should find out, I bet you're pinged off yet.
Right, and I believe so, because I'm gonna be honest with you, if it was a life or death situation, I'd be dead. And I wanna just take my hat off to our first responders, because I was able to call 911, put all the information in, get off the phone, call Officer Slappy. He's in therapy, and the guys in Blue Island reacted faster than 911 did. And it's a shame. And I hate to see if somebody had a medical issue, which time is of the essence for something of that nature. And that's my comment.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns, announcements? Not, we do have members of council, the committee, a lot of stuff. So I need a motion to that. Motion by Alderman Roll, second by Alderman Johnson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Don't listen to that.